What's up, guys? It's Azaran here, and CEO is a big fat hoe, but we already knew that shit. So I'm bringing you my week 6 MPL. Week 6? No, this is week 7. I'm bringing you week 7 of the Monotype Farm League, and it's versus Wincon here. So in the first matchup, I've got Electric, and he's chilling with Psychic. So, you know, team preview, I thought, okay, Mega Zam, Scarf Teeny, maybe Spadef Jirachi, or maybe Double Scarf, and then like Specs Mellow. So that was my prognosis. You guys already know this team, you've seen it over and over again. I lead off with Coco, he leads off with Meloetta. He goes for the Psychic, so to my dismay, that's a Scarf Meloetta, so it does a lot. I go for the Volt Switch here, and then I go to Thunderous, because I didn't want to calc whether Volt Switch from Raichu would have knocked him out, because this is timid Specs Coco versus modest Raichu Orb, and Raichu and Coco have the same special attack, base special attack, so I forgot to calculate it. So I'm like, I might as well take a hit with Thunderous and kill this threat. So he switches out into Slowbro, and I go for the U-turn, free U-turn for me, and I can go back into my Coco, and I can Volt out. He volts out into Zam, which is Sash. Thank goodness. Which is not a threat, so then it can't trace my Raichu's Surge Surfer and like proceed to destroy my entire team. So I can Volt Switch out again. Okay, I surfed here because I figured that I thought that he was just gonna sack off his Zam, and then go into like this threat, Latios, which was a huge threat to my team. Like, I thought he was just going to sack off Zam, so I wanted to stay in and keep the speed up to prevent, like, the Scarf Victini from coming in, the Scarf Meloetta from coming in for free, possibly a Scarf Jirachi. So I go for the Surf here, but I should have Volt Switched. But here he makes a questionable play, and, I mean, I don't know if Raichu has anything to touch Lottie. Honestly, HP Ice wouldn't even be doing that much. So, I mean, I had to go for the Volt Switch here. I switch out. I go into my Rotom, safe play, so we can scout out what this thing is. He goes for the Bolt Strike and does 40%, and that's definitely banded. So I switch out. I go into my Coco here, get the terrain back up. He's going to switch out, and finally now he's going to sack his Zam. And down goes the Zam, and I go out to Raichu again, so to not give anything a free switch. He goes on the Lottie. I'm going to Volt out into my Zapdos. I don't feel like breaking my Mag Sturdy yet. So he goes for the Roost here. Roosts up some damage. He's going to go for the Psyshock, that 57% to me. As I go for the Discharge, just to get some damage off. No Para, so now I gotta switch out. But he decides to switch out to Victini, as I switch out into my Magnezone. And I'm fine sacking this. This is one less V-Crit I have to take, and then just in case the Jirachi is like late game Iron Head Hard Stamp, I still have Rotom at a good amount of health. So I was fine with this trade, honestly. So now he goes into Jirachi. He goes straight for the U-turn, able to knock me out. And now he's going to bring in Latios. I think he should have brought in Meloetta, so that Thunderous doesn't get the free U-turn, So he goes into Jirachi here. I go for the U-turn. So fearing the Spadef, okay. I feared the Spadef, so I didn't go for this. Actually, my mentality's fucking up right now. I went into this, I saw he had no lefty, so I'm like, oh, this might be Scarf also, so I'm going to switch out into Zapdos, but just in case it's Rocks, like it is here, I can also come in at still a decent amount of health. So now he goes into Latios. I go for the Defog here, straight up. Now he's going to go for the Draco and knock me out, which is fine, because now I have a free switch into my Thunderous. And I should have U-turned here in hindsight, but for some reason I was still fearing, I was fearing the Spadef Rachi now, because he went for Rocks and U-turn, so I didn't know if Coco's like T-Bolt would have been able to knock him out if I U-turned into him. So I decided to go for the knockoff here. Boom. Doesn't do that too much to Slowbro. So now I'm going to switch into my Rotom as he doubles out into his Meloetta. I'm going to sack this. And he gets a crit. I don't know if that mattered, but it doesn't really matter because now I get another free switch into my Thunderous. And now U-turn is free, I feel. I'm like, screw it. I'm going to chip him away. U-turn comes out on the Slowbro. I go into my Coco, set up the terrain again. This time I'm going to Volt Switch, and finally he sacks the Slowbro. And this lets me bring in my Thunderous once again. As he goes into Jirachi, I don't think that was the play. It was definitely... I don't know. Because now I can just knock off spam, right? I knock off here. He has the Cobra Berry and does 38%, but he doesn't attack me to get chip for Meloetta. So I get a second knockoff off, and then down goes that. So now he goes into Scarf Meloetta. He goes for the Psychic. Maybe some chip with Heart Stamp would have been enough, but he decides to just get up Rock. So I knock off, and that should be a good game. As I take the first game 1-0. Or no, 3-0, sorry. So now we'll move on to the second game. I decided to bring Poison. Because Poison is top tier. I think it's one of the best types. He decides to bring Ground. Excadrillless Ground, which is actually a lot safer, and Landorus-less Ground. So it's a lot easier, and I had a potential to win this match. So he leads off with Mamo, as I lead off with Binu. We're going to switch sides here. He goes into Steelix straight up. I go for my Giga Drain on the unmegged Steelix. It does 29. I go for the HP Fire. It does 25, does less, as he gets up his rocks. I go for the HP Fire again, do some more damage, as the Steelix goes for the Earthquake here. He goes into Nidoking as I go for the Giga Drain. It does a lot to the Nidoking. He goes for the Sludge Wave, does 42%. I'm going to Giga Drain again, and here I'm going to Synthesis a couple of times to get up to a decent amount of health. Synthesis once, Synthesis twice, and I think I Giga Drain on this turn. Yep, so I Giga Drain, and down goes that Nidoking. So he's going to bring in his Mamoswine here. His best play would be to click Earthquake, whether he's choiced or not. But I didn't want to risk Icicle Crash, and Muck isn't doing anything in this game, so I just decided to sack Muck, so now I can go into Crobat. So if he's Sash, well then fuck me. Like, this thing was going to throttle my team. But, oh well, it's not Sash, as he goes into Gliscor, so I can go straight for the Brave Bird, just in case it is Sash, honestly, is what I did that for. Now I'm going to click the Taunt here to prevent any of his stupid shenanigans, like his SD shenanigans. And then I'm going to defog these rocks away, these annoying rocks, as he goes for the knockoff. Then I'm going to go for the Roost, but he predicts that nicely and goes for the 8 Earthquake to do a lot of damage to me. I think I'm going to click Roost again here. Yeah, I'm going to click Roost again here on the knockoff. Yep, he tried to predict my taunt there. I'm going to go to Nidoking here. As he goes for the Earthquake, does not kill. I knew it wouldn't kill, even if he did go for the Earthquake. So I go here, go for the Ice Beam, do 37 to Gastro, which is a fuckload, honestly. That lets me go back into Venusaur, but he makes a good play and doubles out into Garchomp. And I'm going to go into Toxapex here, because I'm sure this is a Scarf. I'm 100% sure this is a Scarf Garchomp. And indeed it is. He goes for the Outrage here. In hindsight, I should have probably just T-Spiked and let this thing kill me off, and then so then I could have just hidden Power Ice this, I guess. But I decided to recover. I wanted the health on this thing for some reason. So now he goes into Gliscor. As I go for the T-Spike, he goes for the SD. I go for the Scald. I should have gone for the Haze, because that's not doing enough. Now he goes for the EQ here. I go for the Haze finally here to reset. And now he has a free knockoff, but I'm still going to go into Crobat. No, he goes for the SD here. Interesting. So at this point I'm like, fuck it. He's going for the Taunt, as he goes straight for the knockoff. Does a decent amount to me. And at this point I'm like, screw it, I'm stacking my Toxapex, as Gliscor goes straight for the Earthquake. Now I go to Nidoking, which is faster than this thing, and he sacks a Steelix. The T-Spike is important because now on the switch-in, Gastrodon will die to Ice Beam plus Earth Power, or double Ice Beam. So I predict him to EQ here, and he gets to switch out now back into Gliscor as I get my Roost up again, keep this thing healthy. I'm going to click Taunt once more. So this thing is like a big ass threat. So I'm going to go straight into Vino here. He goes for the EQ, and it does 26 that first turn, and this is 27 the second, so I don't get the roll. Unfortunate. So that's bad on my part. So now he's going to sack his Gastro here, as my Nidoking is going to kill it off with 2 Ice Beams. God, Nidoking is powerful. Like, honestly. And now he goes into Garchomp. He goes straight for the Outrage, right? Yep, he goes straight for the Outrage. And boom, I'm gonna go to Nidoking here as he goes for the Outrage. I think I should have. Okay, I should have probably just relied on him to get 2-turn Confusion, but this was my best play. So I click HP Ice here, knock out the Garchomp. So now my best play here is to stay in. He's not gonna EQ here, because Icicle Crush does a fuck ton of Nihilego, or Icicle Spear as he goes for. So I just go for the HP Ice to chip this thing. Icicle Spear, right? I'm going to switch out. into my Crobat. He's gonna go for the Icicle Spear, knock it out. I go for the Power Gem, able to knock out the Mamoswine, and I'm just hoping for a +1 crit, being able to kill Gliscor. But that's not gonna happen because Gliscor is hard-bodied, and he's able to finish me off with an Earthquake. So Wincon takes the second game in a close 1-0 victory, and now we'll move on to the next battle. Alright, Wincon decides to bring the same team from game 1, and I decided to bring Ghost, because I like this Ghost team a lot. It's Trick Room. It's a very weird niche team because it's like Adamant. It's Trick Room. It has Trick Room on Jellicent, but the Mimikyu is max speed Adamant. The Marowak is speed crept for Heatrans and Tapu Finis, and then there's the Scarf Gengar. It's a very situational Trick Room, but you're gonna see that it comes into play here. So I have the matchup advantage, obviously. He goes into Victini, and I predict that, so I go into Gengar. Fearing the Life Orb, he goes into Jirachi here as I go for the Shadow Ball. I was afraid that he would set up rocks, so on my fear, on the easy predictable item, so I decided to just stay in and safely go for another Shadow Ball. So now I can go hard into Sableye, but he makes a good play and goes out into Victini here. And I'm going to Mega Evolve, and I calc this. A Banded V-Create does about 86-87% max to a Fizz Death Bold Sableye, but he crits me. So if I knock this thing off, like, this would have been so much less of a threat. So now I have to go into Marowak Alola. I'm going to get up my rocks here on the Jirachi, as he's going to get up his own rocks, and I'm just going to click Fire Punch to knock him out. As now Lotus is going to go into Latios, and I'm going to go into Delmise here and sack it. Or hope I live, but I'm definitely not going to live. So he's just going to go for Draco twice and knock me out. Now I'm going to bring in my Gengar here. I should have just Shadow Balled, but then Meloetta would have gotten a free hit, so I'm just going to click Sludge Wave here. He's going to go for the Psy Shock, and I'm going to be able to 2-hit KO him with Sludge Wave. And he's going to bring out Meloetta, which is good, because now I can get chip damage on this, so I can win with a Fire Punch Trick Room sweep later, a potential Fire Punch Trick Room sweep. So he goes for the Shadow Ball here, and luckily his Shadow Ball is disabled, so now I get a free Marowak Alola. And I'm just going to straight up quick Fire Punch, because it's free. So boom, I go for the Fire Punch, I break the Zam Sash, and now I'm going to go into my Jellicent here, which eats hits up for days. He goes for the Psychic, and now he's going to bring in the Victini, the King. He's going to go for the Trick Room. I'm going to go for the Trick Room. Now I'm just going to straight up click the Scald here. V-Create. Okay, he does 66%, right? And I recovered leftover, so now I'm at 12%. So at this point, like, if he went for another V-Create, he would have had a good chance of winning the game. But I'm sure he knows that I'm still slower than this, and I can knock this thing out with a Scald. So his best switch in would be Slowbro. So at this point, I decide to make the play of recovering, and I'm rewarded for that play. Boom. Nice recover. So now the Slowbro is not in range of killing me with like a Psy Shock. He goes for the Scald to check if I'm Cursed Body, and I go for the Toxic, so now this thing is dead, because now it can't Calm Mind up in my face. For some reason I decided to go for Toxic here. I should have just gone for Scald. That was just dumb on my part. But Psychic is doing absolutely nothing, and I'm going to click Trick Room again. He can bring his Slowbro back in, but he's going to get whittled by Toxic and me just spamming Scald here. He's going to Calm Mind up here. I'm going to Scald. He's going to slack off the damage. I'm going to recover just in case he wants to get some damage on me and then bring in Amon later. So he brings in Alakazam on the switch, but I Scald this time to knock out the Zammer. And he brings out Victini here. And okay, the thing is, he could have knocked me out with Bolt Strike, right? But then, if he knocks me out with Bolt Strike, then that's a dead Victini, because then I can bring in Alola and Marowak. And I can absolutely safely click Fire Punch. Fire Punch to kill out the Meloetta, and then I'd be faster than the Slowbro, and Shadow Bone would be enough to chip it down. So, at this point I had the game won. It was primarily the turn where I recovered on his switch to Slowbro that won me the game. Although this game would have been easier if I was able to knock off this Victini's item, but I already had matchup advantage anyway, so I can't complain too much. So, I knock him out, and I think at this point, no, he's not going to click X yet. Now he's going to click X, and he knows he's beat. So, I take a nice 3-0 win in Game 3. So, that's my Week 7 match. up versus Wincon, and it was a nice 3-0. Good way to bounce back after we fell to 3-3. So now we're 4-3 heading into the last game, or is this the last week? I don't know. Either way, at least we end the season on an over 500 record if this is the last game. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.